YouTube, welcome back to our garage, the Full Spectrum Garage. Today we're going to be working on our exhaust system that we're upgrading for this year. We use our 997.2 GT3 for autocross. So we have in the past used it in some stock classes, and we've raced with SCCA. And moving forward, we're going to be moving into some of the more unlimited classes, looking to run with some other clubs also, and kind of doing some things where there are less rules. So in combination with some other items, we are going to do the Dundon long tube street exhaust for this car. Dundon has so kindly been able to sell these used for the more impoverished Porsche owners like ourselves. You can save a couple $1,000 by buying them used, and they still come with the lifetime warranty. So if they have a structural problem, then we can send them back to Dundon, and they'll fix them or replace them. So that's nice. When you buy them from the OEM, you can get that same service. They came used. The guy said that he had used it for a winter, and we had actually started to see some rust in some of the welds. So we actually we made some short videos and cleaned some of that stuff up with chrome wheel cleaner, and it looks pretty good. I think we could have made them look a little bit better, but for complete pointlessness for what we use the car for, it's going to go back to looking dingy pretty quickly.
For when you use them for the winter?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, this stuff, I am not an exhaust engineer, have little interest in that, but essentially what we're trying to do with these long tube headers is we're trying to get some of that scavenging effect, and what we're probably going to gain is going to be top end horsepower or torque in the top end. Again, I'm not an exhaust engineer. What I've read and what I've seen, it seems like the Dundon folks actually put some effort into doing the engineering, and they actually have different size tubes for the RS version and the non-RS version. So I'm told by people that calibrate for this that they actually work. So as far as gains, we're going to do this in coordination with an airbox and a tune. And basically when I think about a naturally aspirated engine like the GT3, I'm going to think that if we bend over backwards and do all the free airflow stuff, you're going to be lucky to see 10%. So like if we're talking about a Miata, that's why you see maybe 10 or 15 horsepower, maybe 25 horsepower if you start messing with this. With the GT3, we start at around 415, 430 horsepower. So if we can net 10%, we'll be gaining about 40 horsepower. So we'd like to see this thing pull up to around 475 horse at the crank. We have some before dyno numbers, so we should be able to get an idea of what we have gained. This system is still using a catalytic converter, and these are valved exhausts. The OEM exhaust system uses valves, and the valves bypass a side muffler. This system totally gets rid of the side muffler. So for what we're using, that gets some thermal mass away from the tire. It helps us control the heat to the rear tire, which is good for our autocross. And it also sheds some weight. I think it's 40 pounds, but that's just from the hip.
And these are high flow cats, right? Also,
I think so. I don't know.
So that should at least theoretically be worth some performance improvement on its own.
So we'll go over and look at the car. We've laid out some tools. You're joining us after we've already removed the bumper cover and the heat shields. Some of that stuff, I mean, who knows? None of this is probably interesting, but that stuff is certainly not that interesting. There are definitely YouTube videos that exist that they kind of show how to get the bumper cover off these. It's kind of a normal service position. So nice.
Don't worry about that.
It's kind of a normal service position. So I think you guys will be able to find that information if it's interesting to you. We have our 3/8 socket, 6mm Allen, just a regular extension. This tool comes from a box that we lovingly refer to as our Porsche specific toolbox. We always have a set of deep offset wrenches when we're doing Porsche projects, and this swivel socket set is also part of our Porsche specific set. We're going to use a deep socket. Some of these exhaust, the muffler bolts are a little bit harder to get to.
Like that guy in there, especially.
So I've had this off before. I've had bad luck with these studs. It's something about, I don't remember if these are a lock nut that's crushed onto there, but I'm low-key expecting to maybe break a couple of these, so hopefully not. But we might set up a tripod and just kind of film some of this, or we're going to shoot from the hip here. But yep, we're going to strip these off. Again, this is that side muffler. This thing is totally going away. All this heat that gets trapped here, like if it sits in grid and this tire just gets assassinated with heat. So this whole piece is going to be gone, and our long tube is going to come out somewhere in this area, and then that Sport Cat is going to come over and complete. Again, with the stock pieces, here's our valve, and it is bypassing this guy internally. In this configuration, we're still using the valves, but it's not, it has, obviously no muffler here. So what we get is supposedly some drone control. There's a couple different paths through here. So if we block one of these off, what we don't want is like driving down the interstate at 3,000 RPM to have like that boom in the cabin. So we definitely want to try the valved exhaust. And this car is a toy, so if we get some drone, we'll turn the music up or get earplugs or something. But that's where we're at. That's what we're going to work on. We're gonna yank these mufflers first, we think, and then pull the headers off. And might have to loosen this or take it off, especially if we snap all the studs. Then yeah, coming off. So, all right, let's get to it. All right, so we went ahead and got the side mufflers off the car. These are not going back on. These are the heavy guys.
Quite heavy, yes.
It's significant. So we were able to slip those guys off of their mount here. They're studded, so we had to just get a little bit of slop here on the joint at the catalytic converter, and on the joint at the catalytic converter. And get it off the muffler. We had some stud casualties here. I'm having a brain fart as to what I did. Like, I know I've broken these before and fixed them. I think that I
see those rear ones are a bit shorter.
I think I cut them flush, drilled them, and slipped another fastener in from the inside, but I'm not 100% sure.
Go.
Hey, Dan, remember that time when your phone called 911 in your pocket when we were trying to do something else?
Unfortunately. Anyway,
What kind of budget phone is that?
it's a Pixel. It's a real thing.
This is a good ad. It's a good spot for Pixel when you absolutely have to call 911 for no reason.
Good spot for Apple products, apparently.
Filmed on Apple.
Yeah, something like that.
Nice. All right, so we cleared these side mufflers out. On this side, I won the game of life by trying to very carefully remove this from the actuator, and instead of damaging this hose, which Dundon has given us new hoses, I seem to have bent the actuator port. So on the other side, I used reckless abandon and cut the rubber. These, we can thank past ourselves for having doused these in PB Blaster several weeks ago in anticipation. These have like clip landings on them, and apparently nothing clips you in the back. The front has a clip on the heat shield. I've already pulled that out. So I think if I wanted to just be a complete idiot, I could sit here and wind these wires up, but I think what I'm going to do is go to the top and pull the airbox out, and then totally undo these the oxygen sensors. So when we dump this manifold and catalytic converter, we will work on the O2 sensors on the floor or the bench, getting them the rest of the way out and preloaded into the new parts.
Seems like a convenient time to replace the airbox.
Ooh, fancy. That's a good idea, especially if we want to get that 10% power bump number that we were talking about. Past ourselves also loosened the exhaust manifold bolts in the cylinder head when this thing was hot. Tried to give ourselves the best chance of those things actually coming out of the cylinder head. So Porsche used bolts and Dundon uses studs. So we are going to load the cylinder heads with studs and move on in that process. So we think we're going to set up the time-lapse guy again and go back to work here and probably start working on the airbox too. So. Camera on? Yeah. Okay, so Dan was just fishing around in here. We've got this this block back here of wiring. This blue, I think, is going to be the blue, obviously, wiring on the O2 sensor under the car, and then the black one is the rear sensor, I think, or I flipped it in my mind.
No, that's correct.
Blues are in the front, blacks are in the rear, and so we're gonna pop these off of here and send them back down there so that when the exhaust comes off, we can mess around with the O2 sensors on the bench. And we have done some double dipping, but we can show you guys how to get the airbox out of your way to get to this point. It's pretty straightforward, so cool.
Okay, so we managed to fish the O2 sensor wires out, so now we can just unplug them as such.
As they were.
Yes.
This side has some sadness in that someone that hated us routed these O2 sensor wires, so they're actually trapped between the body and some piping and some other garbage, but we disconnected them inside, so as we'll pull the headers down, and as we loosen this O2 sensor, this thing's just, all these cables are just gonna spin in there in space, and it's not gonna be winding up on anything. It's just free to flop around, but not easy to take off. I guess if I was replacing the O2 sensors, maybe I would cut that and come up with my own routing. Otherwise, it seems very painful. Probably someone is smashing their keyboard right now, thinking, "Why are you such an idiot?"
The other one, the rear one on that side, took a bit of effort to fish out. What's happening?
Nothing. Do you want to? Can you call 911, Dan?
Why?
I don't know.
Are you having an emergency?
Are you?
No.
Your pocket was.
I could be. If you wanted me to. I could make an emergency for you.
This is an emergency.
I am an emergency.
Okay, we're going to be kind of
careful. I
careful.
feel like you should clean the stuff off of them.
Yep. We're going to be a little bit careful with these. Clean off the PB Blaster, and then...
Definitely didn't just slightly drop that.
I have a high temperature, high nickel anti-seize that I'll throw on these things too. We're, I guess, just fortunate that these came out. This can be, it can be difficult. This car is not super high miles, and this particular one, I haven't driven in the winter. I'm sure the geriatrics that owned it before me were like, yeah, we're going to follow the salt truck. But that hasn't been its life with us.
It did come from Michigan, so who knows?
Yeah. Apparently, if you ask for
There you
something
go.
donnez-moi in French, that's when your fiance will remind you that you used to think your French teacher was cute in middle school. Whatever. My only comment was it's not best practice to reuse these. Maybe that was Dundon's whole thing. They're fine.
Fine. It seems fine. We need the picture
This
again.
is fine, guy. Yeah,
We
I
need
was
to-
gonna say that this is fine.
That's
fire.
gonna just be our mascot.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
We
mean,
should.
it
It should have been
seems right.
"This is fine" garage instead of full spectrum.
Yeah.
All right, let's pop the
Other
other
side.
side off.
Cutters? Might not need cutters. No, it doesn't need cutters. Okay.
Whoa! Look at how much length we have on this. Luxury. Uh-oh. It's a 22. Did I loosen this? I thought I loosened this one.
I don't know. I'm not your keeper.
Do it. Faster.
The people on YouTube are watching. All 3 people watching this video want to see you get this loosened.
Do they though? They
Yeah.
might not.
So with the ones that were troublesome, I tightened them again like a quarter turn,
Yeah.
like as if we were tapping this, because we sort of are. Oh yeah, see, winning.
That was just the quarter turn that I tightened it.
No,
Maybe.
tighten again. Yeah. Good enough. No, don't do that.
I won't be told.
He will be told. Don't make me get the torch out. In the time-lapse video, there's like, it's time-lapsing and I'm getting the torch and then you like, I light the torch and then you see me walk over and get the fire extinguisher and like plop it here. I'm like, thanks, Mom.
All right.
Nice.
Freedom.
See, now we can use this as the potter that you
Thank
wanted.
you. I was telling Ryan I think that this looks like a flower vase or something. So
Or something.
yeah.
Someday, when we're all dead in like 70 years, somebody's gonna be like, oh, those kids that owned that car ruined it and got rid of the stock pieces.
Yeah. Oops.
But then this will still be a flower
Ooh.
vase somewhere.
Yeah.
This sensor has had more threads on it in the past.
Yeah. Or does it have extra threads from this?
No, it's definitely missing. Oh,
Both. Maybe it's both.
no, it's
Okay.
definitely missing some.
Well, we'll see what it does.
We're gonna- Ratchet and socket already prepared. Then we're gonna go just snug with it. And we'll say that's that.
Can't see me, I'm busy.
You're very busy.
BC.
All right, so we've got the headers loose fit, and Dan and I are both going to throw these. We're both going to
Easy
throw these
there.
catalytic converters up, and this is going to be pure chaos, I think, because we're just going to be wrestling, and this thing's going to be moving around a little bit. This is what you came here for.